Hello humans, welcome back to Your Thoughts Are Valid and I hope you all are doing great. So today we are going to learn about neuron. We will understand the basic structure of neuron and see the functions of different parts of neuron. So let's start with the video. So first let's understand what is neuron. So these are basically building block of nervous system. Okay, so our nervous system is made up of lot of neurons. 85 billion to 100 billion neurons are there in our brain, which basically constitute our nervous system. So these specialized cells transmit chemical and electrical signals. Okay, and these signals basically help in doing whatever we are doing, even when we are touching something or feeling something. It's the neurons which help us understand those signals. So brain is made up entirely of neurons and glial cells, which are non-neuronal cells but provide structure and support for neurons. Okay, glial cells are non-neuronal cells that provide structure and support to neurons. Then this is the structure of neurons and neuroglial cells. Okay, so here you can see the neuron, then you can see astrocytes, then you can see axon. So wait a minute. So this whole part, okay, this whole is neuron, okay, and these are also neurons. These two are neurons, okay. So here, let's understand this is these parts. These branch-like parts are known as dendrites. These are dendrites, okay. These all are dendrites. These branch-like structures are known as dendrites. Then here are astrocytes. This is a neuroglial cell, astrocyte. Then there is microglia. This is also neuroglial cell. Then neuron structure we will study in detail. So here I'm just telling you that these two are neurons. Then there is astrocyte, there is microglia, and there is also oligodendrocyte. Oligodendrocyte. This is oligodendrocyte. Okay. So I hope it is clear. Uh, so we are going to study neuron in detail, and we will also learn about microglia, astrocytes, and oligodendrocytes. Moving on to neuron anatomy. So this is the basic structure. You should learn this structure, draw it somewhere in your notebook, paste it in your room because this is the most important. So as I said, branch-like structures are known as dendrites. Okay, branch-like structures are known as dendrites. So these all are dendrites. Branch-like structures are known as dendrites. Then there is one nucleus, and this is soma. Okay, this is nucleus, this is soma, then there is axon. This whole part is known as axon. Okay. Then in axon, these are the distance between two axons, basically the this unit and this unit. The difference between these two is known as node of Renvier. Node of Renvier. And there is Schwann cell inside it. Schwann cells are there, and there is myelin sheath as well. Okay, there is myelin sheath also. Okay, and these are axon terminals. These are axon terminals. So if you have seen the video of neurotransmitters where we understood synapse, the concept of synapse, so you must remember we studied axon terminals there. So this is the basic anatomy of a neuron, and I hope it's clear to you. Moving on, let's understand about dendrites. So dendrites are tree root shaped part of the neurons, which are usually shorter and more numerous than axons. Okay, these are more numerous than axons. Their purpose is to receive information from other neurons and to transmit electrical signals to the cell body. Their purpose is to receive information from other neurons and to transmit electrical signal to the cell body. These are covered in synapses, which allow them to receive signal from other neurons. Some neurons have short dendrites while others have longer ones. Okay, so from this diagram, you can understand that these are dendrites. Okay, and these are axon terminals, and this is synapse. So the axon terminals of one neuron and the dendrites of another neuron, they basically constitute synapse. And this is how a message is transferred among neurons. Okay, so from axon terminal it passes on to dendrites. Okay, and then dendrites pass it on to its own axon. Okay, then again this axon terminal would be joined to another dendrites. Okay, so this is how the whole transmission of signals happen. Okay, then moving on, wait a minute. Yeah. So let's move on. Yeah. So water dendrites signals arrive through branches called dendrites. These vast tree-like branches grow up and out from the soma. Dendrites are thicker than axons and covered in synapses. These are covered in synapses. Moving on to cell body. Okay, cell body. So what is the function of cell body? So the soma we studied about. Soma is called as cell body. It is the essential core of the neuron. Its function is to maintain the cell and to keep the neuron functioning efficiently. It is enclosed by membrane that protects it, but also allows it to interact with its immediate surroundings, okay, which is known as cell membrane only. Then the soma contains a cell nucleus that produces genetic information and directs the synthesis of proteins. These proteins are vital for other parts of the neuron to function. Okay. So let's see. So these are axon terminals. We have studied about this. We know about axon as well. Then this whole part is known as cell body. Okay. These are dendrites. Okay. These all are dendrites. But this whole part is cell body or soma. So there is nucleus inside it. So let's see, this is the detailed version of soma. Okay, detailed version of soma. So here is axon. Here, axon starts from here. This is axon hillock, the point where axon starts. Then the nucleus, they have shown the nucleus. Uh, so this is the nucleolus. Then this whole part is nucleus. Then there are other parts also which we really don't need to understand because that's not in our syllabus. So let's not go there. So just remember the function that it maintains the cell and keep neuron functioning efficiently. Okay. Then moving on to axon. So axon is also called as nerve fiber. And it is tail-like structure of neuron which cells cell body at a junction called the axon hillock. The function of axon is to carry signals away from the cell body, away from the cell body to the terminal buttons in order to transmit electrical signals to other neurons. Axons are covered in fatty substance called myelin, which insulates the axon and aids in transmitting signals more quicker. Axons are long nerve process that may branch off to transfer signal to many areas before ending at junctions called synapses. Okay. I hope this is clear. Okay. Just a minute. So the blue part you are seeing here, okay, the blue part you are seeing here, that is myelin sheath. Okay, so this is the myelin sheath and the pink part is axon. Okay, the whole pink part is axon And this blue part surrounding is myelin sheath. Myelin sheath insulates the axon and aids in transmitting signals in more quickly. And axon basically carries away signals from cell body to terminal buttons. I hope the function is clear to you. Moving on, axon terminals. So these are located at the end of the neuron. The axon terminals or terminal buttons are responsible for transmitting signal to other neurons. At the end of a terminal button is a gap, which is known as synapse, Neurotransmitters, terminal buttons hold vessels that contain neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are released from terminal buttons into the synapse and carry signals across the synapse to other neurons. Electrical signal during this process. Electrical signals convert to chemical signals during this process. It is then the responsibility of the terminal buttons to reuptake the excess neurotransmitters which did not get passed on to the next neuron. Okay, so just a minute. Here you can see these parts. These are known as axon terminals. Okay, these parts known as axon terminals. Okay, now we will see the zoomed in version of axon terminals. So this is a zoomed in version of axon terminal. Okay, so what is happening here that so these are responsible for transmitting signals to other neurons. So at the end of terminal button, okay, so this terminal button, there is a gap which is known as synapse, okay, or synaptic gap. This gap, okay, this gap between this axon terminal and the this dendrite, okay, this gap, this whole gap, this is known as synapse. So terminal buttons hold vessels that contain neurotransmitters. So these are this is terminal button. So there are vessels. These small blue color circles are vessels basically, and these contain chemical molecules known as neurotransmitters. So these are released from terminal buttons into synapse and they carry signals across synapse. So these neurotransmitters get released when they receive a signal and they pass it on across the synapse. These neurotransmitters pass it on across the synapse and carry signals across the synapse to other neurons. Electrical signals convert to chemical signals during this process. This process is known as neurotransmission, and it is then the responsibility of the terminal buttons to reuptake the excess neurotransmitters which did not get passed on to the next neuron. I hope it is clear to you. Then moving on, synapse. So synapse is the chemical junction between axon terminals of one neuron and dendrites of next. It is a gap which is where a specialized chemical interaction can occur. Okay. So I have already explained what synapse is. So let's just move on. What are glial cells? So glial cells are a type of cell that provides physical and chemical support to neurons and maintain their environment. These are located in central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. These are sometimes called as glue of the nervous system, as well as neuroglia or just glia. Most notable glial cells include oligodendrocytes, astrocytes, microglia, ependymal cells. And in PNS, it is Schwann cells, satellite cells, and enteric glial cells. And you can see the images in this, picture of these cells in this image. So in PNS, we studied that there are Schwann cells, then there are satellite cells, which is not shown here. Then even enteric glial cells are not shown here. We will basically study about the function of glial cells found in CNS. In CNS, what are found? Oligodendrocyte is there. Then microglial cells are there, ependymal cells are there, and also astrocytes are there. Okay, so these are glial cells. Glial cells provide physical and chemical support to neurons and maintain their environment, basically known as glue of the nervous system. Moving on to astrocytes. So these are the most abundant cells in brain. They are star-shaped cells and provide physical and nutritional support for neurons. They have many functions to perform, like clean up brain debris, then transport nutrients to neurons, hold neurons in place, digest parts of dead neurons, regulate content of extracellular space, promote synaptic connection, clear excess neurotransmitters, ensure the continued function of neurons, maintain permeability of the blood-brain barrier. Then oligodendrocytes. So these are the myelin forming cells of CNS. Myelin is composed of layered phospholipid membrane and serves to support and insulate axons, allowing for faster impulse transduction. Saltatory conduction occurs as the impulses jump across sodium ion rich nodes of Ranvier. One oligodendrocyte can myelinate multiple axons. Oligodendrocytes are incapable of replication upon injury. Okay. Then there are epidermal cells. These create cerebrospinal fluid, line ventricles of brain and central canal of the spinal cord. These are cuboidal to columnar in shape, have cilia and microvilli on surface to circulate and absorb cerebrospinal fluid. Depending on where they are located, they help to distribute neurotransmitter and hormones associated with central nervous system. Also, microvilli of ependymal cells can absorb CSF and influence its flow and let certain substances in and out of the brain. Then microglia phagocytose and remove foreign or damaged material, cells or organisms. They are small, relatively sparse cells. They act as the brain's resident cleanup squad by phagocytosis or cytosis in apoptotic cells, plaques, and pathogens. Okay, so this is about microglia. And now let's learn about different type of neurons. So there are sensory neurons, motor neurons, and interneurons. Sensory neurons take sensory information from environment, for example, getting poked with needle, and sends this signal to brain. Motor, these neurons communicate information from brain to tissues and organs throughout the body, allowing for movement. Then there are interneurons. These neurons make up the majority of neurons in body. These are basically middlemen and transmit information between sensory and motor neurons, play a key role in learning, memory, planning. Then there is a structural classification of neurons as well, like unipolar, bipolar, and multipolar. So in unipolar, a single elongated process with the cell body located off to the side. Located off to the side. Cell body is located off to the side. In bipolar, two processes separated by the cell body. Two processes separated by the cell body. You can see in the diagram. The diagram is pretty clear. Then multipolar neuron, they have more than two processes, a single axon and multiple dendrites, as you can see. So thank you so much for watching the video. If you have any doubt, please do ask in the comment section. And for like the cells, other cells, I didn't go in detail because you have to remember the functions on your own. And there is not really any concept which you need to understand. It's more about learning the functions of these cells. So just learn these. And also the different types of neurons are hardly asked in the exam. It's usually about sensory and motor neuron, and even these structural classification of neurons is not asked much, but you should remember it because we never know what can come in the exam. So yeah, but neuron, the basic structure of neuron and the function of axon, dendrite, soma, nodes of Ranvier and myelin sheath, all these are very important. So please remember those. And yes, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching.